Welcome back to the channel. The T-34 tank is one of the most iconic armored vehicles in military history, a symbol of resilience, innovation, and raw battlefield power. Developed by the Soviet Union and introduced in 1940, it changed the landscape of armored warfare during World War II. It wasn't just another tank. It was a revolutionary design that influenced generations of armored vehicles that followed. At first glance, the T-34 may not seem overly imposing by modern standards, but its legacy is unmatched. The moment it rolled onto the battlefield, it stunned the German military with a combination of mobility, armor, and firepower that had never been seen in a single platform. What made it so devastatingly effective wasn't just one feature, it was the harmony of several well-executed design choices. Its sloped armor was one of the most important innovations. This seemingly simple adjustment meant that incoming rounds had a significantly higher chance of deflecting, making the tank much harder to penetrate than its contemporaries. The armor thickness ranged from 45 mm at the front to 40 mm on the sides, but the angling meant it behaved like a thicker shield in practice. Under the hood, the T-34 was powered by a V234 12-cylinder diesel engine that delivered around 500 horsepower. That may not sound like much today, but for its time, it was an impressive power plant that gave the tank a top speed of up to 53 km per hour on road. Its operational range was approximately 300 km, allowing it to move quickly across vast stretches of terrain. A major advantage on the Eastern Front, it was also much less prone to catching fire compared to gasoline-powered tanks, giving it better survivability. The T-34's main gun, the 76.2 mm F-3 cannon, was another major factor in its battlefield dominance. It was capable of knocking out most German tanks early in the war with high accuracy and a powerful explosive punch. Later versions were upgraded with a formidable 85 mm Zis 5.3 gun, enhancing its armor penetration capabilities against increasingly advanced German armor like the Panther and Tiger tanks. In addition to its primary cannon, the T-34 also had a 7.62 mm coaxial machine gun and another in the hull, allowing it to engage infantry threats effectively. But beyond stats, the T-34's real power came from its adaptability and ease of mass production. At a time when the Soviet Union was under immense pressure, the design of the T-34 was simplified enough to be manufactured in vast quantities across several factories. Over 80,000 units were produced, making it the most produced tank of World War II. It became the workhorse of the Soviet armored forces, leading charges, breaking through enemy lines, and pushing back the Axis powers on countless fronts. Its mobility was another standout feature. With wide tracks and a robust suspension system, the T-34 could traverse muddy fields, deep snow, and uneven terrain with relative ease. This gave Soviet commanders greater flexibility in planning assaults, knowing that their armored columns wouldn't be limited by terrain the way many German tanks were. Inside, the T-34 was utilitarian and designed for war. The control systems were mechanical and often physically demanding. Early models lacked radios, which limited coordination, but that changed as the war progressed. The interior layout was relatively cramped, but the crew of 4, gunner, loader, and driver had everything they needed to operate the vehicle efficiently in combat. In combat, the T-34 earned a reputation for being durable and reliable. It was not uncommon for damaged tanks to be field repaired and returned to battle within days. Crews respected its ability to take punishment and keep moving. German soldiers often remarked on the difficulty of stopping a T-34 without concentrated firepower or heavier anti-tank weapons. It could be outgunned by later Axis tanks, but its speed, numbers, and aggressive deployment made it a nightmare to face on the battlefield. The psychological impact of the T-34 cannot be overstated. Its presence alone often forced German forces to change tactics, reinforce positions, or retreat. It was not just a tank, it was a weapon of strategic influence, morale, and propaganda. As the Red Army advanced, the T-34 was at the spearhead of nearly every major offensive from Stalingrad to Berlin. Over the years, the T-34 evolved. The T-34 85th version, introduced in 1943, addressed the limitations of the original by offering improved armor, a more powerful gun, and better crew accommodations. This variant remained in service well after the war and was exported to many nations around the world. It fought in Korea, Vietnam, the Middle East, and even Africa, remaining relevant decades after its initial deployment. One reason the T-34 endured so long was its simplicity. Unlike more complex Western tanks, the T-34 was easy to maintain, repair, and operate, even by crews with limited training. In battlefield conditions, this was priceless. Spare parts were interchangeable across models, and even cannibalized tanks could keep others operational. From a historical and engineering standpoint, the T-34 is a masterpiece. Its balance of firepower, protection, and mobility defined a new standard for armored warfare. It taught military designers that speed and versatility could be just as important as brute strength. Today, surviving T-34 tanks are treasured pieces of military history. Museums, collectors, and even modern military parades feature them as a tribute to their legacy. Despite being over 80 years old, they remain fully functional in some countries, a testament to their rugged engineering and enduring design. The cultural legacy of the T-34 is equally massive. It has been immortalized in books, films, documentaries, and video games. For many, it represents the might and determination of the Soviet Union during its most desperate years. It is an enduring symbol of victory against overwhelming odds, a physical embodiment of the phrase "quantity has a quality" all its own. When reviewing the T-34, one must look beyond just armor thickness or turret traverse speed. This tank was an instrument of national survival and one of the most influential armored vehicles ever made. It combined the best aspects of battlefield design into a platform that was not only ahead of its time but capable of adapting and thriving under the worst conditions of war, whether judged by the number of enemies it faced, the terrain it conquered, or the battles it won. The T-34 stands as one of the most successful and respected tanks ever created. For those interested in military history, engineering, or tank warfare, the T-34 is a subject of endless fascination. It's not just a relic of the past, it's a blueprint of how a good design, made at the right time and for the right purpose, can change the course of history. The T-34 wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. It needed to win, and win it did.